The next one, I think, is Fabio Licciardello, that will show us the results of the pilot in the industry sector.
Yes, here I am. So I start showing the screen. Maurizio, can you see the screen? I put it in presentation mode. I hope it works in the presentation mode now.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Yes, I would like just to give a very short introduction with the 2 slides. This is a presentation from Federalimentare and University Modena and Reggio Emilia concerning the industrial dairy sector. So we can move on. I think it is nice also to give you a very short overview for the Emilia-Romagna region, because we are speaking about food, and Emilia-Romagna is, I think, the leading region for agro-food in Italy. So it is very important and relevant for our sector, and especially for the dairy industrial sector. Emilia-Romagna counts the largest number of companies per units producing belonging to the dairy sector. So 381 units, mainly devoted, as you can imagine, for producing Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. But also concerning the types and size of the companies, dairy companies in Emilia-Romagna, if we count at country level, the 23 big cooperatives existing and operating in Italy, half of these 23 cooperatives are based in Emilia-Romagna. So this corporate form is characterized by small and very small companies, and represents the 63% of the total local units in this region. Concerning the dairy sector, we can refer about an highly fragmented sector. 381 operators which are producing 150,000 of tons roughly. And with a specific focus for the cheese production, because cheese production was also the focus of our pilot action. 80% of this production is made up by our cheeses, followed by the 70% from the fresh cheeses, and while the semi-hard and soft cheeses are not so relevant for the Emilia-Romagna. But also enlarging the overview to the smart specialization strategy, agri-food is in the first strategic priority for the Emilia-Romagna as one of the pillars for the regional economy. And this agri-food sector starts from an already advanced level, but also there are several further improvements relevant for all the REINWASTE objectives. Regarding the preparatory and the background work we have been doing in the dairy sector, I would like just to summarize the main characteristics and waste audit results we have been collected or we have been coping with. So regarding our particular sector, most of the inorganic waste generated by our companies is regarding the inorganic part of the waste is represented primarily by packaging waste from both raw and secondary materials, as well as also the final products. But also there are some other wastes related to the maintenance activities or cleaning, laboratories and repair works have been also registered. The recycling and treatment of waste generated in the dairy fields is beginning with a separation, which avoids they being discarded with liquid waste and mixing together. And this would prevent an adequate treatment of each type of waste. But to summarize, the inventory of packaging and packaging waste derived from the dairy sector, which we have been used also to enter in phase 1 and phase 2 is the following. Of course, plastics with films, trays, boxes, wrappers, etc., but also wooden pallets, paper boxes and cardboards, glasses, used filters, and finally sludge from filtering organic materials. So now I leave the floor to Fabio, and we will be available for consideration afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Maurizio, for introducing our contribution. I would like to continue now presenting, first of all, the background which arises from the analysis of the situation of the case studies. So thanks to the companies that that collaborated with in this project, we could define the initial situation, which depends, of course, on the specific situation of the companies, but also on the regulations which are in Italy at the moment. So first of all, this regulatory framework, the packaging materials, the use of packaging materials in Italy is regulated by an environmental contribution, which is defined by CONAI, this consortium for the collection of and management of packaging waste. So the fee that companies have to pay depends on the nature of the material and on the recyclability, especially of this material, on the actual recyclability, not just the theoretical recyclability. So the other point is the heterogeneity. We are talking about food packaging, and packaging is normally designed on the specific requirements of food products. So they have different structures, different materials. This makes the problem even more complicated. So then there is the cost, because when we think and propose some actions, we have to face, of course, this issue. Some companies have the possibility to invest in some technologies. Others, smaller ones, maybe need alternative strategies which do not imply big investments. So we could differentiate the proposed actions based on the capacity of each company. Then another challenge is that each alternative that we propose, each packaging alternative needs to be verified and validated. So we are talking about food products again, and we need to ascertain the effect that specific conditions, specific packaging materials and technologies have on the shelf life of the product. So we cannot, well, the objective is not to reduce the shelf life of the product, at least to have the same shelf life standard as the conventional systems. Then, in some cases, or well, all cases, in all companies, we register the presence of waste made of plastic and food together. So this waste comes from the quality control. When companies produce packaged products, they have to make analytical quality control on the packaged product. For example, to verify the level of gas in modified atmosphere packaging. So in these cases, the package is sacrificed and together with the food, and the management of this specific waste is quite complicated because we need to open the package and decide what to do with the food, and then dispose the plastic separately. Finally, the consumers and the retailers increasingly demand for smaller and single-serve packages. So this trend, which was confirmed through the dialogues with our partners, with the companies, means that industries have to change their packages to smaller packages. And this implies the use of higher quantities of packaging for food units. So this is another challenge. We also found some critical points, which are technical limitations due to the packaging lines. So the need for setting the lines to alternative materials and techniques. Limited collaboration between actors in the value chain. Actually, the companies do not have much information on the possibilities of alternative strategies, as previously I heard from another contribution, so this is confirmed. Also, sometimes companies rely on third parties for the management of wastes. This has another consequence, which is they have a low involvement and awareness of which are their wastes, because they often pay they subcontract these tasks, and the fee they pay is not dependent on the quantity of the waste, but it's a fixed cost. So this makes the problem not very well known by the same companies. And consequently, the fixed costs are considered such as administrative costs. So companies don't think they can lower these costs in any way. So I will now analyze and present some data we have collected about the quantity of waste and costs of waste management in relation to the turnover. We can say that a typical company we analyzed is an industry which produces and ages and treats cheese, hard cheese, by portioning and grating and packaging. A typical company in Emilia-Romagna has between 31 and 50 employees. And for this specific case I present here in 2018, this company produced 72.3 tons of mixed packaging and 13.3 tons of paper and board packaging waste coming from the packaging of products which are then opened and processed in the farm, in the factory. This cost, the waste management cost, amounts to about 30,000 euros, which can be, depending on the size of the company, amount to 0.001% of the turnover to 0.04%, which is not actually a very high cost. So this is also a reason why some companies don't even consider the possibility to reduce this cost. This cost, but the implications are different, not just the cost. So the first pilot action that we proposed, and now I will present actually five pilot actions, which are, as I said before, can be addressed to different companies. So in this case, the first action is addressed to any target company, because the action, the strategy is absolutely general and does not imply the extra costs or extra technologies. So simply the lightweighting of packaging consists in the reduction of the amount of packaging, of unnecessary packaging, with several consequences, usually positive outcomes. So over-packaging is the unnecessary use of packaging materials and represents an underestimated environmental and economic issue. I say underestimated because most companies don't even try to reduce their packaging, because they rely on the indication of the supplier. So they don't have an R&D department inside, they are too small for this, and they just adopt the solution that the supplier gives. But I can always say that, it is usually possible to reduce the amount of packaging up to 20%. And from previous studies, I bring this data. The thickening, the reduction of thickness of packaging can also bring other advantages in terms of sustainability, of marketing, and reduction of environmental fee. As I said before, CONAI imposes the payment of a contribution, which depends on the amount of packaging used and on the nature. So, as for all the strategies I propose, in any case, we have to validate the results for in terms of shelf life. So the reduction of packaging is possible until it does not determine a reduction of the shelf life. And here I also report some citation of previous studies for deepening this topic. The second action is the replacement of packaging, of plastic packaging with compostable materials. And this action is actually divided into two sub-actions. So the 2.1 is the replacement of conventional packaging for yogurt with compostable pots. So within the companies, we have some companies that also produce yogurts, and they pack yogurt in conventional PP cups. Some of these companies also communicated their willingness to invest into the finding alternatives, compostable alternatives. So the scope is to substitute the conventional packaging, which is not recycled, with new ones which can be composted in industrial facilities. I show here some examples of cups made of compostable material. This is PHBV, polyhydroxybutyrate valerate, covalerate, which were developed in the GLOPAC project. I just take the chance to say that GLOPAC project is a partnership with the REINWASTE, because they have common general aims. So in the GLOPAC project, where the University of Modena Reggio Emilia is a third party, we develop these cups and we test the technical performances and the possibility to pack soft cheese. Possible materials that can be used as an alternative to PP are PLA and polyhydroxyalkanoates. In any case, we have to test the shelf life compared to the standards, and to assess the actual shelf end of life for these packages, because they are virtually theoretically compostable, but we have to see if the facilities, the composting facilities, can treat them, because to date we know that since the time of degradation for the bioplastics is longer than the time needed for organic residues, these bioplastics need specific conditions which are not applied at the moment in the composting facilities. Also, from a technical point of view, these biopolymers can be easily injection molded into cups, for example, while other techniques, such as thermoforming, as we will see afterwards, is more a challenge. So in the second action, the 2.2, the second sub-action of the second action, we address the replacement of trays with compostable trays. This action can be addressed to companies producing portioned cheese or soft cheese. And in this case, the trays can be realized by thermoforming. Thermoforming, as we can see here from another example from the GLOPAC project, is more a challenge, because it needs very, very specific conditions to obtain a good result, because materials, in particular PHBV, has a very narrow processing window. So the temperature for thermoforming must be very precise. Again, we have to assess the actual end of life of these packages, because it's not said that the route of for the disposal is clear, and they can be effectively composted at the moment. For the third pilot action, we proposed the replacement of composite materials with monomaterials. In the food sector and in the dairy sector especially, there is a large use of multi-layer packaging. This is because products are very susceptible, very easy to degrade, and they must be packaged in a modified atmosphere. To guarantee the maintenance of modified atmosphere, we need barrier properties of the packaging. So this is usually achieved by composite materials, but composite materials are not recyclable. So to make them more recyclable, we can change them and change them with monomaterials. Monomaterials can be mono PET, for example, and many companies are now evaluating the possibility to use mono PET through the verification, of course, of their performances. So this is called design for recycling, when we change type of packaging, thinking of what will be the end of life. At the moment, the rigid packaging are not recyclable because they are usually made of composite materials. For example, trays can be made of PET and polyethylene and a barrier of ethylene vinyl alcohol. However, even if we have mono materials, at the moment the trays are not recyclable in Italy, at least. So we have anyway a good news which I wish to report here, which is that the CONAI, the Consortium for the Management of Packaging, is now evaluating the possibility to recycle PET trays. So these packages, which now belong to the C ranking, so the worst packaging, and they pay a lot of money for the use. This packaging may be shifted to a better ranking, to B1, for example, if they are recognized as recyclable after this process. Also, PET allows to use rPET, to recycled PET, which is at the moment in Italy there is a limit for use of rPET in direct contact with food. So we can use at least 50% of virgin PET. But another good news is that the Italian Parliament is now working on a new law which could open the possibility to use up to 100% rPET in direct contact with food. The fourth action is the adoption of non-destructive online control on packaged products. Why do we propose this action? Because destructive analysis are the conventional analysis that the companies do on for the quality control of packaged products. They determine the production of the waste, I said before, made of packaging and food together, and so the sacrifice also of food. Some non-destructive technologies exist and are available on the market. So we proposed to some of the companies that have a higher investment capacity to to consider this possibility to implement in their lines this inline non-destructive monitoring of packages. This technology can be adopted also offline with a lower cost for the measurement of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the packages without the need to open or pierce the packaging. And if we have some minutes at the end, I will show you some video of this technology. In brief, the technology is based on infrared laser spectroscopy. So laser ray passes through the packaging, which can be transparent or semi-transparent, but cannot contain metal. Otherwise, the laser is scattered and is not effective. And this laser is then detected and can reveal the percentage of gas within the headspace. The technique is also used for the leak detection, so for assessing the compliance of a seal in the packages. And the very good aspect, very positive aspect is that with this technology, we can check 100% of the samples, not just random or batch samples. So this will improve, of course, the level of quality assurance. So from the feasibility point of view, every action we proposed is already market available. So we are not proposing, strategies which are being developed, but they are already developed and available. Only some issues regard the use of bioplastics for the thermoforming, which are not really feasible at the moment unless we find specific conditions. From the business and financial plan, we just hypothesize some conclusions. I will be now very, very short because I think I ran out of time in a while. So for the lightweighting of packaging, as I said before, this action does not imply costs, but just advantages in terms of reduction of packaging cost, of reduction of national environmental contribution. And then it can be also exploited for marketing purposes, because a company which has optimized the packaging can claim on the packaging label that the packaging has been reduced by 20 or 30%. Some companies already do these claims for other sectors. The second pilot action has to take into consideration the higher cost of bioplastics, which is about 3 to 5 times higher than conventional plastics at the moment, and also the cost for the plant, the packaging plant conversion or adaptation. At the moment, we don't have in Italy facilitation for use of these bioplastics, because they are considered as plastics from the environmental contribution. So they don't have a specific fee, lower fee, because at the moment there is no specific waste management chain, but it is expected in a few years. For the third pilot, we want to say that the monomaterials can be cheaper than the composites. So, for example, the mono PET will be cheaper, and also the use of rPET is a good opportunity. And the use of mono PET trays can soon probably benefit of a lower contribution level, which can jump from 546 euro per ton to 280 euro per ton, when these mono PET trays will be classified in the B1 category. Finally, the adoption of non-destructive online control technologies has a higher cost. Of course, it can be implemented in line, with a higher cost, but we consider that the investment can be easily paid back thanks to the reduction in the quality control costs. So probably also companies can reduce the number of employees dedicated to the quality control if the system is integrated into computer managed database. So for the sustainability aspects, I already said something, but I just want to remark that all proposed strategies have benefits in terms of sustainability because they allow to reduce the amounts of plastic and waste streams. Also, the LCA studies have demonstrated that bioplastics usually bring advantages in terms of environmental sustainability, but still they have to find their right way to recycling or composting. Then the use of monomaterials is a effective strategy for improving the recyclability. And then the non-destructive techniques for the gas measurement prevents waste generation at the quality control level. In conclusion, we don't have to forget that the food safeguard comes first. So every action we propose has to be verified in terms of shelf life standard, shelf life maintenance. We cannot afford that the food becomes spoiled sooner, because otherwise we determine a even higher environmental impact. Then the cost of the sustainable materials is expected to decrease in the next years, as well as the strategies for and the end of life will be soon implemented. So we can be quite confident that this strategy is feasible, but we have to wait that critical mass of bioplastics is reached in the markets before we see these systems working. Then we can say that we want that plastics continues to be used, but in a wiser manner. So this means eco-design. We don't want to say that the food industry can do without plastics, but simply that we have to better manage plastics in the design and in the end-of-life phases. RPET represents a big opportunity which is already exploited, but will be more exploited in Italy when the regulation about the 100% RPET will be active and approved. And finally, the non-destructive gas measurement systems can be an opportunity for higher and bigger companies as an investment able to reduce the cost of quality control and the levels of waste produced. I just want to finish with two small videos showing how the non-destructive techniques work. So I think I have to exit the sharing and start again the sharing with the audio. Sorry, I will. Okay, let's try. So we found this video for a company in Italy producing and selling these machines for the control of sealing quality in line, as you see. So 100% of packaging are controlled.
Non c'è l'audio.
I think this video does not have audio, but maybe the next one.
Okay, thank you.
So this machine makes a little, pushes slightly the bags and the packages, and can trace the gas loss and also determine where the gas loss is. So you can also use the technology to optimize your sealing machines where the problem is detected. So just our references and contacts here if you want to contact us for any reason. Thank you for your attention, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Fabio. I think we can open the floor to the Q&A section for the pilot regarding the outcomes of the pilot in Emilia-Romagna. I know that there's a question in the chat from Sara Piccone.
Yes, I can just say it so it's faster. I was wondering about the industry pilots, about the correlation between monitoring the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in the packaging and avoiding waste. Because I understand it avoids to have a damaged product on the market, but I miss the direct impact on the waste reduction. Perhaps you can elaborate a bit on that?
Okay. I don't know why I cannot switch on my video, but here I am. Yeah, the problem is that companies, when they have to analyze the gas content of packages, they withdraw from the line so samples every 10 minutes, for example, or one bag every 100 bags. So these bags or these packages are then sacrificed because they are open. They are pierced with a needle analyzer. This needle samples a small volume of the gas and gives back the percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide, which allows to say if the process of modified atmosphere packaging is going well. But this makes waste because these packages are sacrificed, so they cannot continue in the line. And so we have a waste of packaging and a waste of food at the same time. Sometimes the food is then restored in the line if this does not affect the hygienic standard of the line, but usually, yeah, the packaging is absolutely wasted. So for big numbers, this also becomes a big number.
Yeah, thanks. Now it's clear. I had missed this part, so I wasn't understanding the purpose, but now it's clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions?
Fabio, excuse me, Fabio, thank you for your presentation, Fabio and Maurizio.
Yes.
So if I understand, some of the alternatives reduce the cost of the production process. I am not talking about the bioplastic, So my question is, what is the problems of the enterprises to not adopt these innovations? So actually,
yes, the problem actually concerns small companies, because the big companies have already for sure addressed the problem of packaging optimization. Small companies use a standard packaging, which the supplier has proposed maybe 5 years ago, and they are used to this kind of packaging, and they don't want to change it because they feel the risk of the change. But probably if you scientifically demonstrate that they are just wasting money and wasting plastic, not bringing any advantage to the shelf life of the product, which is the case in most cases, this has absolutely just advantages, no disadvantage. I say that it is an underestimated issue because we think it is well, banal, obvious that one should optimize the packaging, but this is not done by all companies. The small companies don't even think this possibility because they rely on the supplier.
Thank you for your answer. It's very clear. Fabio, maybe you agree that we should also, as a strategy to promote our innovation in the rain waste, mainly in the industry secondary sector, we should also make some promotion on distribution and the supplier, including all the value chains, not only producer of the secondary industrial agriculture included in the 3 value chains in the rain waste. So I think distribution supplier also should be contacted, should be included in our transference activities.
Yes, I think you're right, because usually the choices of producers depend on the requirements of the distribution. So we have to convince them first, and then they will maybe return with different needs to the producer. You're right, I agree.